everyone, Nubkeks here, and welcome back to Heroes of the Storm. Straight into a draft, by the way. We're on Tomb of the Spider Queen, and I have first picked Tassadar. And yeah, he is a hero who has received quite a few little tweaks since his big rework there in the last big patch. So I want to talk about that in this video, and basically what I think... Yeah, to be honest, a whole bunch of new sort of talent builds and everything have sort of opened up some different options. Got a much better feel for them now that he's been out in rework for, I guess, about a month? Maybe a little bit less. But for a good while. Is it longer than that? I don't know. Anyway, he's been reworked for a long time, and we're going to dive in depth into him right here. At the moment, certainly for high-level play, cannot speak for lower-level play, because I don't do that, but he is unquestionably one of the strongest heroes in the game. One of the strongest heroes in the game who on a number of maps is well worth a first pick or even a first ban. So we got first pick for him here on Tomb of the Spider Queen, which I think he is a map, it's a map where he is pretty good on. What does Tassadar do? Well, number one, he does basically counter a lot of stealth heroes, which is extremely useful. Oracle, his trait, gives you this vision in a wide area. It shows heroes that are in stealth, everything like that. Also, the shielding he provides is an extra layer of protection. He is ultimately a support hero. It's an extra layer of protection against stealth heroes trying to flank or assassinate someone. He's just incredibly useful against that. So that's just an inherently fantastic thing he does. He is also able to vastly enhance, I would say... potentially two heroes, but really I think with the current Tassadar, you're really looking at enhancing one hero from your team with shields, okay? So maintaining shields and focusing on maintaining shields on a single hero on your team to really amp up the aggression and the damage that they are able to do. In this game, as you can see, our teammate here, last pick is hovering Vala. He will ultimately get Vala, in fact. So Vala is going to be the hero that we're comboing with. I mean, first pick Tassadar just opens up your team to picking what they want. Now, one mistake I've seen teams make is that they're still stuck in the mindset of the old Tassadar, where by level 7 you had basically perma shields on your whole team. Effectively, you had a shield on a 5-second cooldown, and half of it would persist indefinitely just from level 7, just from those talents. So, and it was guaranteed, it was straightforward. So you could run, like, say, I don't know, 2 heroes that would run off of Tassadar very well. Let's say like Vala and, I don't know, old Sonya. That's not a good example because she's changed. Let's say Vala and who would work well? Maybe, you know, Ragnaros would work somewhat well. You know, can enable him to be a bit more aggressive with his positioning because he's reliant on, he has those shields that he can rely on. Vala and, you know, Illidan, actually, there's a good example. So Vala, Illidan, right? Tassadar would work really well with that, the old one, because he could shield both of them. They'd both be going into fights. They'd have reliable, consistent shields. Can't really do that as much anymore. With the longer cooldown on shields, I really do feel like in Hero League, you're very much going to be focused on just shielding one person. In theory, you could maybe like switch between 2 people and support 2, but it's very difficult in Hero League where you don't know the people or how good they are, and where you don't have any sort of verbal communication. You can't organize it a bit better. Unfortunately, our team captain here is AFK. He should have banned Malf, he didn't, and now we're going up against Malf. But yeah, bit of a problem. So he really screwed this up, right? This is a massive, actually, this is actually a massive mistake. Like, I cannot explain how massive this mistake is. Not banning Malf right there, huge error. So, problem is, right, I first picked Tassadar. Enables him to grab Valeera, right, because that's one of the big Valeera counters removed. Now, Malf is also really good against Valeera, right? He can knock her out of stealth with Moonfire. He can also get scouting drones at level 1. He can also root her. He can silence her at Twilight Dream. He's got tons, there's so much counterplay within Malf to deal with Valeera. It also, in their team, they had Chromie already. It also gives Chromie cooldown reduction and mana. Most importantly, cooldown reduction during the team fight. The roots to enable her to attack as well. It's just a nightmare. Tomb of the Spider Queen, probably Malf's best map as well. He's already the best support, it's probably his best map. Not banning Malf is a massive problem. A massive problem. Now, we would have loved Malf too, but, you know, Malf has Cleanse and Ice Block. Oh, also Ice Block against Valeera, so she can't kill him even. But yeah, Malf has Cleanse and Ice Block, so he's great against Chromie, but realistically, we weren't going to get him, and the enemy team grabbed him, obviously, ASAP before we did. So that left us in a pretty rough spot. to be honest. Now they've got Malf, which means that Valera's going to have a really tough time getting work done. And yeah, we would have been so much better off banning that away. I think it's a big problem. Then our teammate there, Pajama, he was hovering. Oriel and Brightwing, which I think would be probably the two worst choices to combine with what we've got. Classically, Tassadar, Vala, Oriel is an insanely good composition, or anything that works along those lines. Basically, the idea goes like this. Vala can do tons of damage, and she's very mobile, but she's extremely squishy. Well, we combo a Tassadar with that, and then we enable her to do even more damage because we remove her big weakness, which is her squishiness. Vala can just churn out tons more damage than she would normally be able to, and therefore she's doing way more damage. Combo that with Oriel, who does tons of healing but needs teammates to do damage in order to generate energy to heal with. Well, hey, we've got Vala, supercharged by Tassadar shields, doing tons of damage. She basically generates tons of energy for Oriel. Oriel can then do tons of healing, and it's just an insanely good three-part team. Now, the problem in this case is that, well, Chromie counters Oriel quite hard. We don't have cleanse on Oriel. She only has her heroic. Heroic can counter the Chromie combo for sure, but it's still a bit of a problem. And yeah, she also won't have that to level 10, so it's going to be pretty scary. And oh, the other big issue is that Chromie poke. Very difficult for Oriel to actually deal with. Watch this now, I screw this up big time. Oh, the shake of frustration, everyone. Sometimes you make a huge mistake. But we could even see Chromie there, but I had assumed that she would fire it as if I was just going to run downwards. She obviously is expecting me to juke, and then I did juke. And just honestly well played and predicted by the Chromie, expecting me to run away from her. I don't know if like there was some level of out mind games there, but obviously I had all my cooldowns available. I was confident that she was going to aim badly or not expect me to juke to the left, and that's exactly what she did. So yeah, it really sucks. It's such a huge mistake to die. We had both Dimensional Shift and Plasma Shield available. I was trying to conserve as much mana as possible. Pretty dumb, and we pay a big price for it. We actually die. We miss some soak on bottom lane as well, and give up a lot of map position for our team. Anyway, we are now, this is some of what Tassadar is able to do. He's actually fairly decent solo laner. Let me actually mention the level 1 talent I've picked up as well, because this is going to play a pretty big part in this game and in how the new Tassadar plays, or alternative builds that open up for him. This is Templar's Will. So, when he was first reworked with this big rework, this was by far the worst talent at level 1. Chromie expecting me to juke that time. Nuh-uh. Gotcha. Oh, that's a Muradin. Let's run away. That's what I was thinking in this pop dimensional shift. I was like, I'm being safe. I don't want to get hit by Stormbolt in a combo and waste loads of life. I'll just use my 30-second cooldown. It's all cool. It's all Gucci. And we'll be happy with that. Juking Chromie stuff a little bit better now, so that's good. That's what my intent was. You can juke Chromie quite well. That was the intent there. In that original play, and we just messed it up quite a bit. Oh well. Yeah, Templar's Will. When this first came out, it was you attacked for 30 seconds enemy heroes, and you got 1 extra range on your basic attack. You attack for another 30 seconds, you get another range increase. Now what they've done is when you spent 30 seconds attacking enemy heroes, you see that counting up at the bottom. We're up to 9 seconds already. It increases the damage of your basic attack by 150%. 150%. It actually gives you a very, very respectable single target damage output. Let me just check this. So by default, right, Tassadar, with no talents, he only does 40 DPS with his basic attack. Pretty bad. Increase that by 150%, you're up to 100 DPS, right? Which isn't too shabby. I mean, we see like Ragnaros does 150 DPS. Sylvanas has 150, so you're looking at, you know, not as much as like a damage, like the bigger damage dealers, but it's not too shabby by any means. Like it's fairly respectable, all things considered. Sergeant Hammer has 130 TPS. You know, you're doing 100. It's not going to scale quite as well, obviously, with the scaling with levels. That's just level 1 scaling, but still, it means that with this talent, your basic attacks actually hit relatively hard, which is kind of cool. They hit, you know, somewhat hard. It's actually not without the talent. Your basic attacks basically do almost no damage, no notable damage at all. They're there for slows, they're there to tickle, shred off block stacks, that sort of thing. Shred through chests on Blackheart's Bay, because they're still a thing. That's essentially what they do. With this talent, though, it becomes something that, you know, people actually have to pay attention to. So you're going to notice that, obviously, throughout this game, I'm trying to build up those stacks as much as possible by attacking heroes. We're up to 18 now. And this does really amp up and boost Tassadar's solo lane capabilities as well. Makes him quite good at doing that. Because, again, let's say Dahaka, very popular solo laner right now. Ragnaros, neither of them can do anything to you. You can just keep clearing the wave, and you just, like, sit there and you shoot them, and you just build up this quest. Build it, build it, build it. Okay, they run at you. You just step back a little bit, start turreting and shooting at them again. And that's basically what you do. And you can actually start to kind of bully these heroes around a little bit. I think we were playing Ragnaros on stream one day, and we were going up against Tassadar in lane. I was kind of going, wow, this is actually really annoying to deal with. We're just giving him stacks of his quests, and it's very difficult to stop. This is pretty interesting. Okay, well, I want to try this out. So here we are, trying it out. In this game, I can't remember what I took at level 4. Normally, I would say Kala's Light would be the best. I probably took Kala's Light. I'd be surprised if I didn't. But that gives you 15 armor when your shield expires for 3 seconds, which is very useful right there. Obviously, using Dimensional Warp, or excuse me, Dimensional Shift, the Diablo was looking to combo us backwards. His team was there, so he used Dimensional Shift to escape from that. And yeah, now we're kind of joining in a bit with the team fighting phase. We're not doing our solo lane thing at the moment. We're going to focus very much so on just shielding Vala constantly, just saying, okay, Vala, you've got a big, nice Tassadar shield on you. You do not need to worry about being focused down. Right there, I probably should have shielded him instead. Vala goes in. Valyria did a pretty good job there of stunning the Chromie and preventing her from killing her straight away. We got a kill on Malf out of that, which is pretty nice, actually. A little bit of a chase here. Now, Chromie's kind of escaped, so we're just going to focus a bit on the Sylvanas. Alright. Trying to keep ETC alive. And we actually start getting dove by the enemy team here. If you look, basically what happened, our teammates unfortunately misplayed the Vala and the Oriole. They went way too deep chasing Diablo and Chromie, and then left the enemy team just free to dive us with Sylvanas there. So they should have backed off with me and just helped pressure the Muradin away. Yeah, they went way too hard for a kill right there, and we got punished for it. Nice kill by Valyria on Sylvanas. Nice kill by Chromie on Oriole. So that was a bit unfortunate, our death right there. Just our teammates got greedy with the chase, and we got a bit punished for that. Level 7. Actually, I should also mention level 4, like, all the options at level 4 are pretty solid. Kala's Light, I think, is the default one. Kala's Celerity, the one that gives movement speed, can be very strong if you're working with, you know, potentially someone like Zul'jin, you know, someone that actually really needs some movement speed, doesn't have it by default. You know, with Vala, she's already super mobile, so we don't really need to be giving her any move speed. She's just fine. The armor's going to be better for her. Then the double life steal is actually not too shabby either. Our teammates were picking a fight there. Not the best idea, and they do go down. At this stage, we were just soaking level 10 for our team right there when they picked the fight, so that's why we weren't there for the fight. We wanted to get level 10. Didn't want to fight without heroics. Unfortunately, it did happen. Nothing we can do much about that. We're going to shield up the structure a little bit. Just going to get out of this. I don't think they really had much follow-up damage, but, you know, just don't want to deal with it too much. Anyway, the lifesteal on level 4 is an option as well. I tend to not go for that, though, myself. Alright, gonna go in, gonna pop Archon right here, do as much damage as we can. Archon level 10, that's what we've gone for, of course. We get basically one shot by Chromie. I didn't realize on time. It took our health bar a little bit of time to change. That was a good attempt by ETC at a mosh pit. But hey, what do you know? Haymaker comes out counters, and that's a pretty big loss for us. 50 gems thrown away right there. I really don't blame ETC for that, though. It was so close to being the perfect mosh pit that would have really turned this game around completely. But what do you know? Muradin as Haymaker. One of the worst heroics in the game, and we get punished for that. Now, our team are just in a really rough spot. I'm going to come and do this. They really want to be running away. I think they were staying, again, a bit too long and just poking, and I'm not sure exactly what they're doing. They should have run away long before. There's big waves of minions to clear out all over the place. We just lost ETC. Oriel is like freaking out about a bunch of stuff. So this was hilarious. This is part of why I wanted to bring you this video as well. It's just like, just incredible how wrong the Oriel is on pretty much everything she says in this game. Wait till you see her talents as well. It's kind of hilarious, but I was just like, how is this person so wrong? He's saying we've got shitty wave clear. I mean, Oriel herself isn't bad at wave clear. We've got Vala and we've got Tassadar. We've got actually very good, we've got very good wave clear heroes. It's not really a problem. The enemy team has a decent amount of wave clear as well, but it's not a huge issue. But yeah, we'll talk more about this because she keeps giving out about kind of stupid stuff. Like right there, if we'd had, I think actually she would have died if she kept going in. And we almost got Sylvanas. That would have been it was very close to, you know, on voice comms, for example. You could imagine right there, kind of saying, hey, Valeera, I've got a shield for you. Gonna be able to heal you up in just a split second. The timing there, even there, I was just watching, wasn't quite right. She would have died to Sylvanas' basic attack. But, you know, you get the idea that it might have ultimately worked. But yeah, the lack of cleanse is definitely a problem for our team. Anyway, Oriel saying we needed other heroes. But she was like, the first 3 picks defines the draft. Our first 3 picks were Tassadar, ETC, and Valeera. Valeera is somewhat questionable, that's fair. But I mean, Tassadar, ETC, that's like, they're like 2 of the best picks you could possibly have on this map. So, first 3 picks of the draft, I was like, dude, seriously. And then he was giving out about this stuff. I was like, well, you know, you had all the supports in the game pretty much to choose from, and you chose Oriel, who Chromie counters. I know it combos really well with Vala, it combos really well with Vala Tassadar in particular, but Oriel kind of counters that. It's like, who counters their... I thought this was so funny. Watch, like, it's just like, who counters their Sylvanas or their Chromie? It's like, well, Valeera does. It's like, Valeera. That's fundamentally what Valeera does. Who counters Diablo here? It's like, well, Vala. Vala counters Diablo. Like, what the fuck are you even talking about? So clueless, man. So clueless. Just completely, like, asleep at the wheel here. I don't know what he was doing, but anyway. Shield for Vala, helping her. She killed Diablo. Pity she doesn't counter him, huh? But anyway, yeah, I mean, once Vala hits level 16, especially, she's going to have Manticore. So she's going to be very strong against her there. We didn't have a shield available for ETC, unfortunately. And everyone's running away. This is actually a problem here. I think that fight right there could have gone a lot better for us and should have. I think Vala actually got a bit scared and did not play as aggressively as she possibly could. Now, admittedly, it was a fairly scary situation, but she could have done much, much better there in terms of the damage, because we gave her a shield. So Vala could have been like just churning out a lot of damage. She doesn't have much to be scared of. But I mean, like, Energized Chord, Converging Force, oh god, and then whatever the damage Q at level 1 for Oriel, it's pretty awkward. It's pretty awkward. At least she got the fucking Crystal Aegis, so that's something. We can rest easy with that, but the rest of it, the rest of it's a bit rough, to say the least. But anyway, yeah, I just thought it was very, very funny in this game. She's like, well, who counters Chromie? It's like, well, Valeera counters Chromie, actually. I mean, if they didn't have Malf, we'd be in a way better position. And if, you know, he hadn't been hovering Oriel or Brightwing. But Brightwing doesn't have the burst healing to deal with the Chromie. And Oriel, again, doesn't have cleanse. There, Crystal Aegis actually worked out really well. And it's a beautiful mosh pit from ETC. We're coming in, just trying to follow up. We're just absorbing some Diablo damage. We don't care too much. And again, just trying to enable Vala to do as much damage as possible. Triple kill, quad kill. We pop our Dimensional Shift just to avoid a little bit of damage from Diablo. But that's 4 kills for us, and that is this Webweaver phase completely neutralized. ETC plays an absolute, as you've already seen, he's playing a blinder in this game. He's doing so well. And yeah, he continues to do well for us as well. The Sylvanas hilariously she took mind control. Because we got no cleanse. That's the theory there for her. But hey, benefit for us is that we've got no Wailing Arrow for Mosh Pit. Hooray. So that's kind of nice. That's kind of really nice. Okay, a couple more talents actually to mention here for Tassadar. So Archon level 10. I'll come back to... So we got to talk about level 7, 10, 13, and 16. Alright, cool. Well, just to tell you what I took. I took Archon in this game. Extra shield for me. Enable me to be a bit more aggressive as well and just focus down some of their backline. Just output more damage. Level 7, I did take Mental Acuity, which is reducing the cooldown of our Oracle. to let us use Oracle more often. And then Adun's Wisdom at 16. When Oracle's active, our basic abilities cool down faster. So just we basically get way more Oracles, gives us a lot more vision around the middle of the map and all the fog of war, all the choke points. And then will enable us to reduce our cooldowns, get more shields up. So just have more reliable shields against multiple heroes. That's what happens when you don't have Avatar, you die. Psionic Echo then at level 16 for more wave clear. Just very good on this particular map. I want to do as much siege damage as possible. Still focusing, of course, on avoiding Chromie skill shots where possible. Using our basic attack, which level 1 Templar seal completely finished at this stage, by the way. So we're focusing on using that to basically output a nice chunk of damage. You can see our damage is ticking away on Diablo. It's not insignificant by any means, you know. Especially we slow someone down inside of a Psy Storm. It's actually a fair whack of damage. It's not too bad at all. Not too bad at all. We've got nice range now from our level 1 quest. ETC went in for a mosh pit. We weren't quite there with him that time. That could have been really good play. He did go a little bit too deep. It actually was a fairly good idea. It's just the rest of us weren't really on point with him. But for example, if I'd been paying a little bit more attention and followed him in, we'd thrown a plasma shield on him. Oriel had been there with a heal as well, perhaps. That could have actually worked out pretty well. It is ultimately a small mistake, though. We got a Web Weaver turn in. There's the Manticore, by the way. I was kind of curious about the Vala build with the Caltrops, which is pretty bad, I think. But she does have Gloom to try to protect her from Oriel combo, not Oriel, from Chromie combos, which I think is a really good idea. And then Manticore, of course, is 16, 5% max HP damage every third basic attack. So she's going to shred through Muradin and Diablo. She doesn't counter them, though. That was pretty nice. She goes into stealth, preventing mind control from landing. I use dimensional shift so that Diablo can't combo me. And it all works out fairly well. Shield onto Oriel just to give her a bit of backup. She's got the armor now as well, which is kind of nice. We popped Archon to try back her up too. Valera does die, unfortunately. But Oriel's still alive, so that's something. We take down Diablo. Gonna focus now a bit on this Malf. Get close. He goes down. Lovely, lovely. Shield for Vala. Vala can go ham. I think Chromie would have been the better one to kill. But it's okay, we kill Muradin as well. And hey, though Valera goes down, that's another 4 kills for us. Hey, 1 for 4 is a pretty good trade. And yeah, the game is definitely turned around now. We're going to hit level 20. The enemy team is still level 18. The last Web Weaver phase was huge for us. We took down a whole bunch of forts and structures. Grab Twilight Archon here at level 20 as well. Best level 20, one of the best level 20s in the game. And this is actually a fairly big mistake. Vala chasing Chromie instead of coming to help us. So, like, our damage output against the boss isn't that high. She really should have been here already, just to help us do this. And just try to get that boss pushing in as quick as possible. So it's going to be a little bit behind the Web Weavers, not too much though. But I had to burn quite a lot of mana on Psy Storms to clear that out, which I didn't want to have to do. Actually, it worked out fine, but ideally you'd want Vala to be there with the boss. Just burn it down quickly and then go in. Really nice work by ETC. Mosh Pit gets cleansed out, but Mal forgets to walk out of it himself and gets taken down. Beautiful Bolt of the Storm into Mosh Pit. Bolt Storm Power Slide Mosh Pit. Power Slide got cleansed, but Mosh Pit, hey, it keeps reapplying a stun every, like, couple of seconds. Well, not every couple of seconds, every half a second, maybe? I don't know. And we're going to move up forwards here as much as we can. Focus down the mouth. There we go. He goes down. Archon going to be ready for us. Should have popped it right now. Alright, you know, split second slow on popping Archon, but Twilight Archon, pushing into the base. We can just keep it up as much as possible. MVP ETC Kipo. I would definitely have put ETC as my MVP for this game. I thought he played fantastic. I thought he played really, really well. He had some great mosh pits. Sure, he made a couple of mistakes, but that's okay. That's okay. He had some really good plays too. And yeah, it was pretty interesting. I think, yeah, Vala actually gets MVP. I thought Vala played well. I think, though, you know, in terms of, like, the skill that the players showed, I think ETC showed some really good stuff. I think Vala did okay. I think Vala got MVP purely because, hey, she had a Tassadar backing her up. So that, like, boosts her stats a lot. Now, she played pretty well with it, all things considered. It was ETC who really took the crown for me. But as you can see, like, Vala did 100k damage compared to 56k, the next highest in the game. That's us empowering her. We did 100k siege damage, but we didn't have any wave clear on our team, though. So, you know what? You know, 100k siege damage. plus Vala doing similar amount. We didn't have any. Just expand. Converging Force hype. Anyway, as you see, lol. Pretty much what I thought about that Oriole. Just kind of fairly clueless about just fairly basic stuff within the game, one would think. Fairly basic stuff within the game. But yeah, you can see our team comp did work out pretty well into the end. I mean, you know, it's just ETC Tassadar, so strong in this map. Tassadar Vala, such a strong combo. Valeera, I think the Valeera would have had a lot more success. She did okay, she did fine. She would have had a lot more success if they didn't have a Malf. You know, if they were stuck on something like a Karazim, or a Brightwing or something like that, Valeera would have had a much better time, would have been able to do a lot more. It's just the fact that he went AFK and was not there to ban out Malf. That was a pretty big problem. And then, you know, the Oriole pick, it worked fairly decently in the end. You know, the Chromie was not holding on or using Temporal Loop that well towards the end. She was just using it to bait out the Oriole Crystal Aegis. And that was actually okay with us, because if you looked at the enemy team, like, they really did not have very much damage apart from that, right? Like, they had Sylvanas, then they had Double War, they had Diablo Muradin, they had a super tanky front line, but they had Sylvanas Chromie as the only real damage. So aside from Chromie hitting like a full combo, they didn't have a lot of damage output, and we were able to punish that quite heavily. So I thought it was a pretty interesting game, pretty interesting Tassadar game as well. So I'd say it wasn't the best ever showcase of Templar's Will, that level 1 talent. It would have been much better showcase if we'd had more of a solo lane to go up against. As you saw, the enemy team for the most part wasn't even focusing that much on the solo lane. They'd kind of pop down every now and then and soak it up. Obviously us dying at level 1 was a bit of a problem that really upset that early laning phase as well. But yeah, they didn't have much of a solo lane. Really for us to kind of go 1v1 against. Like I said, against Dahaka, against Ragnaros, I think Tassadar would do pretty well. Probably a bunch of the other solo laners too. He's not too shabby, just stacking up that Templar's Will quest. Once you get it half stacked, you start doing actually fairly significant damage with your basic attacks. And then once you finish the whole quest, you get extra range, which is just really useful during team fights. It's just extra range on your slows from your basic attacks and that damage. Really helpful for just, you know, doing a little bit of extra to slow down heroes. It actually becomes quite nice with this talent. I like it a lot. I don't think the new Kaydarin Resonance is any good. That's the new regen thing. So now it's like 15 globes and increases the shields by 15%, 30 globes, it increases their duration by 100%. I don't think it's very strong, to be brutally honest. I really wish it was, but I don't think it is that good. We'll see, but it strikes me as not being anywhere near as good as the old version. And then Psi Infusion is not bad either, which is improving your Psi Storm. But I think that Templar's Will kind of stands out to me as being probably the best level 1 talent for Tassadar right now. What that means as well is that it does open up the possibility for quite a different talent build. It does open up that possibility. It opens up, I think, the possibility for Force Wall quite a lot more. Basically, Force Wall, it makes your Distortion Beam slow 30% now instead of 20%. So that's quite nice on your basic attacks. If your basic attacks outside of Archon, or, you know, with Templar's Will, your basic attacks are fairly decent. Your Distortion Beam is pretty good, actually. It makes it so much better that I think you don't really need Archon anymore. You could legitimately have a Templar's Will and Force Wall build, which is built around Distortion Beam and controlling the battlefield with Force Wall. I think it's actually not a bad idea, and I'm happy to see this come back in. It also does open up the possibility, I think, for kind of an interesting, like, Resonation phase disruption build. Okay, so Resonation is a talent at level 7, so Distortion Beam slowing heroes, or just all enemies within Psi Storm are slowed by 50% when they're hit by your Distortion Beam. So that is potentially an option. Though Mental Acuity at level 7 would probably be my standard one. You know, more oracles is just so useful. It also opens up to the possibility level 16, right? Phase Disruption. This is a very interesting level 16 ability. It means your Psi Storm will reduce the armor of heroes standing in it, their physical armor, I should say, by 25%. So whenever a hero is within your Psi Storm with Phase Disruption level 16, they take 25% more damage from physical attacks. So that definitely opens up. Let's say, for example, with Zul'jin. Okay, we're going to go Tassadar into Zul'jin. We're going to grab Force Wall instead of Archon. We're going to actually grab Resonation at level 7. And we're going to grab Phase Disruption at level 16. We'll probably stick with Adune's Wisdom at level 13. Probably with that. And what we're going to do is we're going to, you know, try use our Templar's Will basic attacks to slow down targets, help get Zul'jin on top of them. Then we're going to, you know, throw down Force Wall, lock them in position, blast them with the Psy Storm, and then just, yeah, our basic attacks, Zul'jin's basic attacks, both going to be doing extra damage. They're going to be slowed to 50% in that Psy Storm. We can keep locking them down with Force Walls as well, and just help Zul'jin do a whole bunch of damage. I think that's a very different type of Tassadar build that has been opened up with the nerf to Kaydaran Resonance and the buff to Templar's Will, which I don't think was there before. I mean, you could do it, of course, but I don't think it was good enough. I don't think it was as good as like a Kaydaran Resonance or a Scion Fusion Archon build. That being said, you know, that old sort of, well, quote-unquote old Tassadar rework build is still very much there. And the one I went for in this game would be fairly standard stuff for, I think, Tassadar now, which is, you know, Templar's Will at level 1, make your solo laning much better. So very relevant if you are the solo laner. Callous Light at level 4, Mental Acuity at level 7, Archon at level 10, then Adune's Wisdom at 13, Sonic Echo at 16 for just double Psy Storms, extra wave clear, extra damage, and then Twilight Archon at level 20, basically just permanent Archon if you're ever basic attacking stuff. A basic attack fully resets the duration of Archon back up to 10 seconds, which is kind of nuts. It's kind of crazy, insanely powerful. You have basically an Archon form for the entire team fight. Now, yes, that does mean that your Templar's Will talent at level 1 doesn't get any value when you're in Archon. And then gets pretty much no value in teamfights once you pop Twilight Archon. But I think it's still worth it, because it's so much better from level until the point you get Twilight Archon. I think Templar's Will is probably a little bit better. Certainly its win rate is incredibly high, and I wanted to showcase it in this video. I think like the other two talents are something like 49% win rate or something, like they're not doing that great. Whereas Templar's Will is like 60% win rate or something at Masters level play. It's kind of crazy. I'll just double check that real quick as we come up to the end of this video. But guys, give it a like if you did like it. I'd love to hear if you did. And yeah, I thought it was worthwhile covering Tassadar again, seeing as he has been, I think, changed quite a bit. Okay, actually, sorry. Scion Fusion, 58% win rate. Templar's Will, 60% win rate. And then the Regen Globe talents only 49%. Let me actually, fuck, there's all this ad block nonsense on Hotslogs at the moment, so it's basically unusable, which is really unfortunate. But yeah, oh well, I think, you know, it still shows Scion Fusion and Templar's Will now are going to be like your two really big talents. I'd probably go for Scion Fusion if I was roaming with the 4-man team, and then I'd be grabbing Templar's Will if I was going to be the team solo laner. And that's something to note about Tassadar as a double support, is that he definitely can be a very good solo laner. Control that solo lane pretty well. Oh, one thing worth noting to end it on, and then I'll leave you guys with this idea, is that obviously Templar's Will, because it improves your basic attack damage, oh hey, if you put one of your plasma shields on yourself, then that 20% lifesteal that you get from your basic attacks before, without Templar's Will, that's basically useless on Tassadar. The shield is just a shield. The life leech is completely useless. Now though, with Templar's Will, the lifesteal for yourself actually becomes a pretty relevant thing. And yeah, that's another way that this really boosts up his solo laning capabilities. Once you finish that first half of Templar's Will quest, you can harass enemy heroes, particularly melee solo laners, quite heavily in the lane. You can use your shield to heal up and to outtrade them, and you've got pretty good wave clear with your Psionic Storm, and a very good escape from ganks with Dimensional Shift and Archon to scout things out. Then you transition into a very powerful enabling hero for heroes like Vala, Zul'jin, people like that, basically. Basic attackers. Illidan could work well too. And yeah, there you go, guys. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll catch you all next time for more Heroes of the Storm. Bye bye. And oh yeah, pro tip, Chromie is good against Oriel. Valera is good against Chromie and Sylvanas, and Vala is good against Diablo and Muradin, in case you guys didn't know. Okay, thanks everyone, bye bye.